Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings, and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wilding in the stands. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gonna be our year. We're here, drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring. Yeah.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds, a Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans, by fans. If you're a Kings fan, you better smash up that like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. Calvin and I are live every single Kings game, post-game, having fun, talking about some wins here, and we are trying our best to get the Sacramento Kings back to the playoffs. Calvin, what's up, man? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, Barry. That was a fun game to watch, that's for sure.
Definitely a very exciting game to watch, especially if you're a Kings fan. I don't know about you, man, but my football team lost today. My fantasy team lost today. I won some pull tabs at the bar, which was great. Had a few shots, some beers. Got to see my Sacramento Kings get a victory over the Portland Trailblazers. And I might add, the Summer League champion Portland Trailblazers. The Kings are now 2-0 in the preseason, Calvin. I'm feeling great about this season. And I think we might have just got a little bit of a preview of game one of the regular season. What do you think about that, Cal?
Well, I certainly hope you're right. As of right now, there's no reason to think that the Kings can't come in and handle Portland on opening night. They've played, like you said, ridiculously well. Not just 2-0, but they've been up by 30 points in both games.
Yeah, we're playing against a bunch of suckers at this point. Hold on, I got to get rid of Chat69XYZ. Click on that real quick if you want, because they are out of here. All right, what's up, everybody? Shout out to everybody in the chat. I got Guy here, Jesus, Jim, Ninja, Gothin, Matthew, Sass. Welcome, Jeff the Lefty. We got Jonathan in here. Welcome, guys. And a bunch of others. So welcome in, everybody. Ivan, thank you guys so much for joining, and welcome back. Let's talk about a Kings victory. Calvin, let's get started here. I think I want to dive here into the box score, take a look, kind of go over some of these numbers, and then we can get thoughts on the games. And, we had a new starter announced this week, so we can talk about that. And then we can talk about that kind of remaining forward position that the Kings are still trying to figure out whether KZ might be that guy or if we should go with the rookie. So let's go ahead here and dive into the box score. All right, so Kings win tonight, 126-94, 2-0, Calvin. I'm feeling pretty good about it. Oh, I got a poll here going in the chat. Let me see if I can get rid of this real quick here. It's blocking up our whole chat. All right, okay, got that fixed. So let's take a look here at the Sacramento Kings. Domantas Sabonis, 13 points for him tonight, 50% shooting, made a 3 in this game in 23 minutes, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. We had Harrison Barnes, 11 points for him, 5-11 from the field in 24 minutes. De'Aaron Fox, 14 points in 22 minutes. And Kevin Huerter, who I'm referring to from now on as James Ham Jr., 11 points in 21 minutes. No more Kevin Huerter on this channel. Trey Lyles played well off the bench, man. Hit a couple threes in this game. 10 points for him. 16 for the rookie. Keegan Murray, an amazing 5 of 6 from 3. The dude was stroking all game long. 23 minutes for him. And then we had 14 points off the bench for Terrence Davis. And one of the new additions, Malik Monk, 10 points for him. Calvin, give me your thoughts here on, specific performances from guys and just kind of overall how you felt about the Kings tonight.
Well, I mean, how could you not feel good? Like we said, they've been up huge in both of these first two games. They shot the ball out of this world good tonight. If they do that, they have a chance to beat any team that they play. But look, my two things, again, going into the preseason to watch for were going to be effort on defense. They definitely brought that tonight. You can argue that they haven't played that great a competition so far, and they'll probably come down to earth a little bit, but all you want to see is that they're contesting shots, they're rotating well, they're communicating, and for the most part they've done that in both of these games. The effort has definitely been better, I think, from top to bottom. And then offensively, I loved the way they shared the ball. The ball movement was incredible, especially when Sabonis was in there. When you add all the shooting that they've added this offseason and they whip the ball around from side to side like that, you're going to open up three-point shots for guys that are very capable of making it, like we saw tonight. And obviously Keegan Murray continues to shine, right? That's the main underline from this game.
Dude, I'm feeling so pumped on this season, man. Just games like this make me feel so good and happy for the season to get started. So we heard James Ham Jr. is starting this week. He's officially going to be the starting two guard, at least for now, right? What are you thinking about this four position? Do you like Okpala at four? You want to go with Keegan Murray, maybe Metu, Trey Lyles? What are your thoughts regarding the four position? Or do you move Sabonis down to the four and you start Rashawn Holmes, who unfortunately didn't play in this game tonight? But thoughts on the four position?
Well, I think my position hasn't changed since before they started playing games. I thought Keegan should have been the starter right away. I think that his play has backed that up so far through these first two games, and if he continues to play like this, it's going to be really hard not to keep him coming off the bench or to keep him out of the starting lineup. I will say, though, that the overall focus from Coach Brown has been changing the culture and building a team that plays defense, right? And he loves KZ, loves his versatility. So from that standpoint, it certainly wouldn't surprise me, based on matchups and things like that, to see him continue to start at least in the beginning of the season. But like I said, if Keegan Murray continues to shoot like this and play effortlessly, seamlessly work his way into the offense, he's going to play big minutes every night.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of minutes, it is the preseason, but we've seen the minutes distributed pretty evenly throughout this team, right? We've seen the starters get, in the mid-teens to mid-20s. Haven't really seen guys get more than that, but they have played an absolute ton of guys off the bench, right? Like we saw them play, 20 players in the last game, a hell of a lot of players in this game tonight. Is this kind of just something that they're feeling out here, trying to figure out exactly how everybody fits? Or do you think the Kings are kind of just a deep team and they're going to play a ton of guys every single night, keep people fresh, keep them running up and down the floor, keep the energy? What do you think about that? When do they start to tighten up this rotation? Is it at the start of the season? Is it halfway through the year? Or is it when the Kings make the playoffs? And yes, I said playoffs.
Well, they'll definitely tighten the rotation if they make the playoffs. We can easily say that, right? But look, when you're up by 30 in both your games, it's easy to play everybody on your team a lot of minutes, This is definitely not something I think that's going to continue much into the regular season. I do think that they're a deep team. I do think that Mike Brown is really happy with the different combinations of lineups that he can play, and he's trying really hard to experiment with them right now so that once they get into the season, he has an idea of who to go with and when. But I do definitely think you're going to see the minutes shrink up a little bit once the regular season starts.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. It's interesting, right? How they brought in so many different guys, right? Point guards. We saw Dellavedova play tonight, right? We saw Monk. Terrence Davis is back. Davion Mitchell, who, by the way, looks totally different, man. He's got his hair out. I was like, who is that guy? Number 50. Oh, wait, what? That's Davion Mitchell? What is he doing out there? And obviously, I'm seeing the comments here, right? My hair is short now. Calvin, your hair is still long. I mean, how many likes do we need for you to let the flow out?
Oh, we got to go probably 35, something like that.
Come on, 35 is not enough, dude. We got 39 people watching right now.
Okay,
let's go 50 likes, dude. Come on, guys. If you're a Kings fan, smash up that fucking like button. And if you want to let Calvin let the hair down, hit that like button. Come on. Let's see it, Calvin. Let's see the flow. The new Kings Jesus is here to take his reign, and he's taking the Kings to the playoffs this season. Sorry for all the cuss words. I'm just amped up, dude. I'm having a great time. It's Sunday. The Kings are winning games. I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling real good. All right. Let's take a look here at the losers here. This is the Portland Trailblazers. game 1 of the regular season will be against the Blazers. Basically, this is their starting lineup, right? Unless you see Shaedon Sharpe take another huge step. I mean, he had 27 points in their last game, but if he really proves that he's that dude, I expect him to be starting. Other than that, this is probably the starting lineup they're going with this season, right? You got Jeremy Grant, you got Nurkic, Lillard, Josh Hart, Anthony Simons. You know, they didn't play exceptionally well. Lillard shot horribly tonight, only 8 points for him, 2 of 10 from the field. You have 14 for Nurkic, 9 rebounds, basically what I expect from him, 17 for Grant. He's a key guy this season, right? He was kind of their big offseason acquisition. They made a big trade to bring him in. A lot of people, like Grant, a lot of people have been, very, not so sure about him, right? He's done a lot on bad teams, but can he do it on a winning team? That's one thing that I'm looking for this season. What do you think's the key to the Portland Trailblazers, making the playoffs this year?
They're going to need big-time years out of Jeremy Grant and Damian Lillard. That goes without saying. But Lillard is not going to be able to do this by himself. I think you know what to expect out of Nurkic. He's a big part of this team, and he kind of showed maybe a little bit of a weakness for the Kings. They didn't have Rashawn Holmes tonight. Alex Len came off the bench, but a lot of times they were playing a pretty small lineup, and they could be susceptible to those teams out there that have the big bruisers inside, like the Portlands and the Minnesotas and of the world, But as far as Portland goes, they're relying on a lot of young guys early. So I think that they're going to struggle overall. They've got a shot at the play-in tournament, depending on what shakes out with the Lakers and a couple of those other teams that are going to be chasing for the final spot. But they definitely need their horses to carry them. They're not a particularly deep team.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at the bench here, right? You got Nazir Little, who they brought in, and you got Shaedon Sharpe, Justice Winslow, and Gary Payton, right? Not a ton of offense off the bench for that team. The starters definitely need to step up if they're going to make something happen this year. Do you see the Portland Trailblazers as kind of a playoff team, right? Because we're talking about the standings here and who's going to finally make it. You have some guys moving down, some guys moving up. The Kings obviously are trying to move up here. And you and I have been talking about all offseason, right? How Portland or the Lakers could be one of those teams that takes that spot from the Kings. What are your thoughts right now after a victory? How are you feeling, Calvin?
Well, after the Kings beat the Lakers, I said as of that moment I would put them ahead of where the Lakers are as a team, albeit it's ridiculously early. But, if you were to come down to a play-in or playoff situation, I would think that the Kings had the advantage there. And I feel the same way as of right now about Portland, too. It's a long season, but I do think that the Kings this early on, it typically takes teams that share the ball like that really well with each other a little bit of time to develop that type of chemistry, even if they have played together. This team has 10 new players. They're sharing the ball really well. They seem to be slightly, maybe a half step ahead of where the other two teams that they've played are so far in the preseason, and that's a really good sign.
Yeah, very true. All right, I didn't think I was going to talk about it today, but Jim is baiting me in here. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Would you trade for Draymond Green, Calvin? We're opening up a can of worms here. We're going to talk about this Draymond Green situation. Well, first off, before your thoughts on the punch and whatever, would you trade for Draymond Green at this point? And I'm assuming this is if you're the Sacramento Kings.
Right now, I would not trade for Draymond Green. I think that would be a very silly move to make that trade at the moment.
Why? Come on, expand for me. Come on.
Well, look, because the guy has to excuse himself from his own team because he just punched, assaulted a team member, and it's all over, TMZ and the internet and everything. He's a major distraction right now. And this team, like we just said, they're about building culture. And, you can say the Mike Brown connection, maybe he'd be able to settle him down. But Steve Kerr is already there. And Draymond he just continues to be more and more out of control, in my personal opinion. So I think Sacramento is good with where they're at right now. Let's see what this looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I view Draymond as like a more successful DeMarcus Cousins, right? He's more successful at basketball. He's more successful at winning championships. and he's more successful at bullying his teammates, because I did not see I did not see him punch anybody at practice. Let's talk about this punch, Calvin. I showed the video last week, but you want to just kind of give us a play-by-play on what you saw happen in that video?
Do I really have to give a play-by-play? Draymond walks up to Jordan and flat out launches himself like a missile into his face. It was pretty ugly to see. I mean, stuff like that happens, I guess, in competition, but it's not a good look. And I'm more disappointed in the Warriors organization, honestly, than I am in Draymond Green. Draymond Green has been slowly losing it, I think, for a couple of years. The podcast has given him more of a voice, and so he really feels like he can get away with anything right now, clearly, right? But the Warriors had a chance to kind of, who knows if it's going to work out for them in the long run, like in terms of winning a championship. Maybe that punch kind of fucked everything up from that standpoint, but they still had an opportunity to kind of make this okay if they had just suspended him for a few games, and they didn't. So to me, this is a big mess from the top down.
Yeah, well, I mean, not everyone can be in as good a mood as you, Calvin, looking at sunsets every day. But, I mean, so you don't think they were suspending him? Because, I mean, we haven't really heard from them, right? They said we're going to deal with it internally, whatever the hell that means. Is he suspended from practice right now? I mean, or is this his choice to step away, and then when he gets back, the punishment is announced?
Well, if Draymond is coming out and saying, I get to kind of choose when I come back, then no, he's not suspended. They're basically letting him get away with it again by doing whatever he wants. So this is really unfortunate. I don't know how you would feel if you're Jordan Poole, because it seems like the team doesn't have your back at all. So it's a very unfortunate situation. And all of a sudden, the Kings are the only team in the division that really don't have a ton of drama going on behind them. So maybe that will fuel them early on in the season.
Dude, it feels real good, right, to not be involved in that at the moment. I mean, yeah, you mentioned the Jordan Poole thing, right? And that's for me the big deal, right? Is like, yeah, Draymond, this, that, like, we know what does that coach say? They're exactly who we know they are, right?
They are who we thought they were.
Yeah, we are who they thought they are. That's who Draymond Green is, right? We've seen him assault multiple people, right? Whether it's kicking them in the nuts, trying to get LeBron from behind. We've seen him get into it with players. We saw him get suspended from the Warriors for getting into it with Kevin Durant. Now we know David West was there, so no punches were thrown, blah, 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 all that stuff. But I mean, if you're one of the young guys, especially Jordan Poole, right? But if you're like James Wiseman, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, one of these guys, where you're like kind of looking at this situation and you're like, wow, straight up, the team did not protect me there, right? Like, the team, what is the team doing? Like, I went to work, this is my job, and then I get assaulted? Like, that's out of control, right?
Yeah, it is out of control. And look, you've had many examples of this just this past year and this summer across all sports. Calvin Ridley got an entire year suspension for gambling. Deshaun Watson suspended, all of this stuff. And everybody has their opinions about whether the suspensions are long enough or short enough or whatever. But for Draymond to not get suspended at all, Ime Udoka is out of coaching this season because the Celtics decided that he handled a situation the incorrect way within their organization. This feels like a very similar thing, and the Warriors are basically saying, they're on timeout, and we're just going to monitor the situation. There is no real punishment.
I mean, if you were in charge of the Warriors, what do you think is the right punishment for it, right? Like the Bulls, you had the Mirotic thing, right, where Mirotic was charging at Bobby Portis, according to Woj. He did it twice. He lunged at him. Portis, broke his jaw. He was suspended for 8 games. This was at practice, right? What do you think is the proper punishment? Like what sends a message to Draymond to tell him that this is not okay and it's not acceptable? What sends a message to all the young guys and all the other players on your team that, this is not what we're trying to foster, but also is not enough to impact the team in a way that, you don't have a chance to win another championship?
I mean, that's a hard question to answer. It's a judgment call, right? And everybody's going to feel, I think, a little differently about it. But I would have been fine with something in between 5 to 10 games, 10 games maximum. I mean, that's a pretty decent amount of money that you're going to lose, probably a couple $1 million for him, I would think, at least. And he doesn't get to go to the ring ceremony on the, opening night. That I'm sure would affect him in a negative way. That seems like a fair punishment that still doesn't take the team out of, possible playoff contention or seeding or anything like that if he misses 10 games.
Yeah, I think that quote that we heard from Steph and Clay, about them not wanting him to miss the ring ceremony, right? They had concerns about a suspension because they didn't want him to miss the game 1 ring ceremony. That I don't know, man. That made me feel a kind of way. I was just like, really? You're worried about like the ring ceremony? Like you've won how many rings before? And this is really what you're worried about right now is that he's getting
use it as
ring.
Motivation to go win another one.
Yeah, he's getting this ring in front of everybody else. Like that's really what you're worried about when I think you have bigger problems obviously going on in your locker room. Your teammates are attacking each other, whatever, right? Like people want to say, oh, this stuff happens all the time. We don't support it, but it just happens. Well, it's not really cool anymore, man. Things are changing, right? Like sexual harassment was very prevalent. Not that it has gone away, but in the 90s, in the 80s, it was much more prevalent than it is now. And you don't just say, oh, well, we used to sexually harass people back in the 80s and 90s, so, like I should be allowed to do it now. No, that's not how it works, dude. We're trying to advance as a civilization, get better, become better people. It's a job, right? These people say, oh, this is my job. This is what I do. You don't go to your job and punch somebody else in the face. If Draymond Green's working anywhere else, dude, and he does that, he's fired. He's probably going to jail. Like, I don't know what makes it different about basketball, but I guess that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game, right? It's intense competition, tempers flare. That's what part of sports is. I mean, you see it, not saying it's right, but that's why there are fights in sports, obviously. So I agree it was not the right thing to do. I don't know what it's going to do to their team. Jordan Poole is thinking now, I don't know if they've offered him a contract extension or not yet, but I'm definitely starting to take a look around the league and think, okay, where am I going to get a ton of money somewhere else, possibly, because the grass might be greener at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, Tito says Warriors leaked that footage 100% to get him off the team. What do you think about that? You think this is a Warriors inside leak, or you think this is just a person that was trying to get paid? What are your thoughts on the leaking of the video and everyone's saying that was the problem here, right?
I mean, if that's really the cause of this, it's very unfortunate. It's also terrible timing. It's not going to help them. Nobody is really going to want to trade for Draymond Green right now. Why would you?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some team is desperate enough, but they're not going to offer the type of package that you want in return. The season's about to start. You're messing up training camp. You're messing up the chemistry potentially between the other teammates. So it's not a good idea if that is the intention, to kick him off the team.
Have we heard anything from Jordan Poole?
I personally have not.
Do you think there should be any punishment for Jordan Poole for the push or whatever he contributed to this?
Well, there's a lot of rumors about what led to it, right? Yeah, and I mean, you can't. It's the NBA. If trash talking is what led to this, you can't discipline him for that. That's part of basketball. You have to have thicker skin than that if you're Draymond Green. I think that unfortunately the way the Warriors have let this whole thing unfold, there's nothing that can be done except them handle it internally, and we'll try to figure out whether they did it the right way or not. I don't think they're off to the right start. And we'll see how it goes in terms of the relationship between Poole and the rest of the team, the organization, and Draymond moving forward.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because you think about Draymond as like this trash talker, right? But apparently he can't take trash talk back, which is apparently what Jordan Poole was doing back. And, for me, it's like when you're the one that it finally gets to you, like you're the weakest link, right? You let your emotions take advantage of you. I don't know if Draymond Green is more embarrassed about that or the punch in itself, or the fact that it's like he showed his vulnerability in him going to attack somebody else, right? Like it got to him that bad. I honestly think this whole thing is about contract extensions, right? I think he's jealous of Jordan Poole getting the extension here. Draymond thinks that, or I think he feels like he's done so much for this franchise, and he does, that he maybe should get that like Kobe contract where it's like you get paid for past performance. I don't know if it's going to happen, man. I really don't. I really don't. What about you?
Only time will tell. It's not a good situation for them as of right now, and I think that it's too early to make a call on whether or not they're going to fix this whole thing and offer Draymond another contract. There's a possibility he would have taken another deal regardless of this situation next year anyway if Detroit offers him big money. So only the future will answer that question.
Yep. Very, very true. All right, let's get back to the Sacramento Kings. Charlie says, will Davion shoot over 39% from the field this year?
I think that he will. That's a pretty low number. I know his shooting numbers haven't been always great, but he has shown spurts of that. I do think, though, regarding Davion specifically, that he, in terms of his actual statistics, he might not impress a lot of people this year, but I don't think that that's due to the fact that he's regressed as a player necessarily. The Kings are a deeper team. They have much more better offensive options right now from top to bottom on the roster, which I think overall is going to mean less opportunity to score or to look for his own shot within the offense for Davion. You know, his best games last year really came when everybody was out. De'Aaron Fox was out. He had to do a lot of the heavy lifting on offense, and he had some really, really good offensive games because he got a ton of shots up. I don't know if he's going to have those same types of opportunities this year. So statistically, he might not look like he's performing that well.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look here at the Sacramento Kings remaining preseason schedule. You know, they're halfway through it basically, right? 2-0 at the moment. Their next game is on Wednesday in Phoenix against the Phoenix Suns, and then Friday against the LA Lakers. What are you looking for in these final two games to close out the preseason, you know, to make you feel positive, you know, going in the season? I know you do feel positive already, but I'm just saying, you know, what do you need to see out of these next two games? Is it just 2 W's? You like to see this continued ball movement? You want to see them winning by 30 in these games like they've done in the last two? You know, what do you need to see from Sacramento to make you feel like they're making the playoffs this season?
I don't need to care about the scoreboard at all, I think, for these last two games. Wins or losses, I mean, obviously don't get blown out by 50 each game. That would not be fun. But they just need to continue to look to do the same types of things that they've done in these first two games. The ball movement, the off-the-ball movement offensively has been really smooth. Sharing the ball, they're getting great looks from three. They've got a lot of guys that can knock those shots down if they keep getting open looks. Continuing to hit their free throws, and then defensively, again, you know, the effort, the switches, the rotation, the contesting shots, closing out on guys. You know, if you just continue to see that type of stuff, that usually the scoreboard takes care of itself anyway when you play like that, but it'll just continue to develop. And obviously you have to narrow down who's going to be the starter here in these next two games at the power forward spot. So
yeah, I agree with that. I think that's key, right? Figure out who the starting lineup's going to be. Maybe they already know, right? Brown has some history with KZ. Maybe he's already his guy, right? Maybe they just, you know, kind of want to ease in Murray. You can look here. He's been the high point leader in the past two games, both off the bench. I think he's kind of shown that he is capable of starting, but I think kind of at this point, he's trying to ease him in a little bit, right? He doesn't want him guarding LeBron James to start out the game, or, you know, a bunch of other these big power forwards along the league. So we'll see what happens here. 2 more exciting games, and then we got the start of the season. I know you and I will be at the very first game on the 19th against the Portland Trailblazers in Sacramento. We're going to try and make Sunday's game, or the following Sunday's game, in Chase Center, the new Chase Center, which I have not been to yet before, against the Golden State Warriors. Should be 2 fun games. Man, dude, another victory. This feels great, dude. I love it. I love doing these post games after a win, Calvin. I don't care if it's preseason or not.
Yes.
It feels great. Who's kind of been the most exciting guy or most surprising guy that you've seen out of these first 2 games for the Kings? And don't say Keegan Murray.
Well, he hasn't really surprised me because I thought that this was exactly what he was capable of when he was drafted. So I don't know if he's been the most surprising. I've just been actually surprised with the team in general. They got a lot of new faces. Everything you've heard this offseason was how they got in early and have been working together for a long time, and the competition level's been really high. And the camaraderie looks to be really high as well. And you can see that offensively. They're sharing the ball really well with each other. That stuff that normally takes maybe a little bit longer to develop between new teammates, they seem to be ahead of the pack a little bit. And, yeah, I see Neil in here saying KZ. That's definitely been a surprise, too, because no one expected him to start. But he's looked really good. And Mike Brown has been pretty much true to his word about everything that he's said regarding this team so far, which is, as good as you can ask for.
Yeah, I mean, this team looks completely different than last year's team, right? You're seeing more ball movement. You're seeing more player movement off the ball. The defense is looking much, much different. Yes, it's only 2 games and it is early on. But I'm just saying, like, the eye test right now, I'm looking at this team. It looks like a completely different roster out there. Ivan's telling me here in the chat, he said Mike Brown left the Warriors because he knew Draymond Green was going to do this to Jordan Poole. What are your thoughts on that?
It's very convenient timing. Yes, I agree with that 100%. And if that is the case and the Kings are the beneficiary of that, well, then that's good news for us, right?
Yeah, maybe Mike Brown told Draymond Green that Jordan Poole said something about his mama or something, on the way out the door. Let something fester there a little bit, help the Kings do good this season. He's like, I won you guys a championship. Leave something over there and hit the door. Charlie says, I think you need a guy like KZ when you have to face LeBron, Kawhi, PG-13, Clay, Wiggins, and Booker 4 times a year. I couldn't agree more. You need a guy that can go in there and stop guys. KZ has been the most exciting guy for me this preseason, obviously other than Keegan Murray and some of my other favorite Kings players. But KZ has been that guy. And if he can continue to do this throughout the season, if he can kind of be that defensive stopper for the Kings that they've been missing since Ron Artest or Meta World Peace, whatever the hell his name is now. If they can replace that with a guy like KZ that they can kind of put on somebody to slow him down. You have Davion as well. Plus, the increased shooting and 3-point shooting the Kings brought in this season. They got a good chance to win a lot of these basketball games.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think every good team or competitive team obviously is going to be in the top half of the league in defense when we're talking about the teams that really have a chance to win or to make the playoffs. And those teams consist not of only of a good team defense, but they usually have a really good point of attack defender or a point stopper out there at the guard position, and one of those versatile forwards that's constantly switching, depending on the matchup, or they're switching positions within the game itself. Somebody that's focused mostly on defensive end of the floor, and that could, potentially be De'Aaron Fox and KZ for this team.
Any thoughts on the Kings offense? What kind of systems they're running currently? Anything you want to see them do more of? Or have they been just playing exceptionally well this preseason and just kind of keep doing what they've been doing?
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, for sure, right? I mean, this team, obviously, like we've said, they added shooting, right? So you have to find ways within your offense to get these guys open looks at the basket. And, having so many shooters out there, you really make it tough on defenses to stretch the whole length or the whole width of the floor, right? So the ball moving from one side back and forth to the other has been really critical, I think, to get these guys a lot of open looks. I kind of expected, a more traditional pick and roll style with Fox and Sabonis, and trying to get Sabonis the ball off that pick and roll so he could be the initial playmaker. They're still using him that way, but it's not really with pick and roll. It's a lot more free flowing, and I love the look of it. I think the Kings definitely need to continue that.
Yeah, shout out to Fred. He just got home from the game. What's up, Fred? How was it? How was the energy in the building? I'm excited for next week. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. And man, what have we been talking about the past few years, right? The Kings fans bring energy to the arena when they suck. What are they going to do when the Kings are good, right? They finally started playing better. Like, I know it's only 2 games, Calvin, and you know, part of my problem is I get too high sometimes, but I'm really high on the Kings right now, man. The Lakers, the Blazers, these are the 2 teams we need to beat to make it to the postseason.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, right? Like this, it's incredibly early. They haven't even played a game that actually counts in the standings yet, but these are the 2 teams that everybody has been picking, you know, all the experts have been picking the Kings to have to battle with for the play-in, right? And it looks like, as of now, they're definitely ahead of those teams, which is good. Really good.
Derek's killing me here. He said the Warriors should allow Poole to kick Draymond in the nuts 5 times to make it even. Dude, that sounds like a great compromise. I'm down, but only if they leak the footage.
Oh, yes. It's got to be live broadcast.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. Yeah, the Kings have been shooting exceptionally well from three-point range. That's another thing that really stood out to me in these 2 games. What I said during this game today, I was like, wow, the Kings are looking like the Adelaide 36ers out there.
Yes.
Making all these threes, man.
They've shot so well, but they've been really, really efficient in these first 2 games. The Kings the last few years have been a high-scoring team, but it's usually been a huge volume, right? Like they have to get a ton of possessions. Buddy Hield has to shoot 13, 14 times from 3 in order for them to get to that 120-point mark, right? They need all the opportunities they can get. So far, they've been, again, because I think the ball is moving so well, the free-flowing offense, they're getting really good looks, which is helping them be much more efficient.
Yeah. You think starting James Ham Jr. at the 2 is the right move?
Yeah, I do. I think he's earned that. I like Malik Monk coming off the bench. You know, to me, they're fairly interchangeable, but Kurt Herter's got a little bit more size, and I think you go with him, at least for right now.
Yeah, I think it's the size that does it for me, right? And the fact that he can run with Fox. Not that Monk can't, but he's a little bit smaller, and I think he makes things a little bit more difficult. I'm excited for the times where they do run a 3-guard lineup, and you maybe have Herter and Monk out there both together, or times where maybe Fox plays with the bench and runs with Monk. I think those will be good times because obviously those guys have chemistry from college, and you know Fox can cut inside, and Monk's open for 3. We saw him hit a couple threes in this game, but yeah. I'm just so excited for this season, man. It's gonna be fun, Calvin. I'm excited. Woo! Oh man.
Yeah, and I do think that you'll definitely see Mike Brown try to get Fox and Monk on the court together a little bit more often. But one of those things, or one of the reasons why I think Herter is better to start alongside Fox is, again, it just continues to open up the floor. De'Aaron is one of the best in the game at getting to the basket, and that's a good part of Malik Monk's game as well. He's obviously a great three-point shooter, but he's super athletic, very quick, and he loves to drive as well. So they can, in certain situations, they can clog up the lane for each other.
This is the best comment I've seen all day. Phoenix are ass. What do you think about that? Phoenix ass. Agree with any or all or part of that statement?
They're playing like it right now. They certainly need to pick it up. And they, like a bunch of teams right now, have a bunch of problems within their building, their organizations. So we'll see how it goes for them.
How many points do you think the Kings are winning by on Wednesday? 30? I mean, what? We won by 30 in the first game. We won by 32 tonight. So we're supposed to win by 34 on Wednesday, I think, if my math is correct.
I don't think that's how it works. I'm going to say we fall back down to earth just a little bit. How about just a 20-point win?
Trade Fox, get Victor Wembanyama. Oh, man, that's the Ben Simmons guy. The only way that I know it's the same person is because both people don't know how to spell trade. But we love you. Yeah. Shortage says 34. Yeah, that's what we're going to win by, Calvin. 34. I bet it, dude. I think so. You say 20?
I'm going to say 20.
All right, I'll take 34. We'll see what happens there.
Actually, I really want to say like 6, but I'll say 20.
6? Come on, man. Get that negativity out of here.
Hey, a win is a win, man.
We're toxic negativity, man. Get that shit out of here.
A win is a win.
It's in Phoenix, so we got to take that into account. What do you think is going to give them the biggest trouble in this game? Is it Ayton inside having a mismatch? Is it Chris Paul or Devin Booker? What do you think is going to give the Kings, or like if you're the Kings, what are you game planning for in this game? Who are you stopping first?
Well, the Suns are a great defensive team because they can get out and guard the 3. They've got a ton of length. Mikal Bridges is an amazing defender. Easily could have won, I think, Defensive Player of the Year last year. Ayton's tough to score on inside. So their length and maybe challenging the three-point shot, which has been probably the Kings' biggest weapon or threat so far these first 2 games, I think is going to give them trouble. And also Ayton is a really, really tough matchup for anybody, especially if he's able to pull Sabonis out away from the basket, open the lane up. And, they've got great shooters and great scorers on that team as well. They're good for a reason. So
Fred says KZ will be our Ben Simmons. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. What do you think about that comment? Is that positive?
It can be if he is the best version or the true potential of Ben Simmons, then yes, that will be fantastic. But we don't obviously want the Ben Simmons that says he can't play.
The good Ben Simmons. We want the good Ben Simmons.
We want the good one.
Let's take a look here at some of the other games that happened today. Right, we had the Chicago Bulls take on the Toronto Raptors. They win 21 points for DeMar DeRozan. We saw MRC take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't know what the hell this team is still doing out here, dude. They lost by, 50 in this game almost? You had the Pelicans take on the Spurs. They win 111-97. Lakers beat the Warriors. Calvin, Jordan Poole scores 25 points in this game. It's not enough. Lakers win 124-121. Draymond Green is unofficially suspended for this game, or he's got a night off. And then it looks like the Timberwolves are about to take on the Clippers here pretty soon. I would love to watch that game, but it's probably blacked out for us. How are you feeling about the rest of the league? You think a lot of these teams are kind of geared up and ready for the season to start? Any teams you're worried about? Any teams you're really high on at this moment?
I'm really high on the New Orleans Pelicans. I think this team is going to be so good. They're my dark horse for the Western Conference this year. I'm not going to be surprised if they finish in the top 4. To be totally honest with you, Zion looks like he's ready to have a monster season. They really haven't even played Brandon Ingram that much with the starters yet in the preseason. They just re-signed C.J. McCollum. They're very deep as well. Herb Jones looks like he's taken another step forward, which is bad news for the rest of the league. This team's going to be a problem, I think. And then I'm pretty low on the Lakers, man. We've already talked about it a lot, but they're in trouble. I think this Russell Westbrook situation is not a good look for the team. They have a real big problem with their rotation at the guard position, and they're very thin in terms of depth everywhere else. That means they're relying on fully healthy years from LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and we know how that's worked out for them. So I think the Lakers are in a bit of trouble.
I think you forgot to mention my guy, dude, GTA.
Oh, yes, of course. Grand Theft. We got to love him. Lil Sweet, as my mom likes to call him.
Lil Sweet. Jeff, Shaden Sharp did not play in this game. He tried, but he didn't play. Or he didn't play well. I'll throw that out there.
He did play today.
No, he played like shit. Oh. I was trying to make a
he
joke.
Hit a couple threes later.
I want to remind everybody before we cut out the show today, check out RoyalRebounds.com. It's our store. We got a lot of cool gear in here right now. I'm rocking the End the Streak shirt to Game 1, Calvin. This shirt looks good. It feels good. And this is the year. How many of these shirts do you think need to sell to break the streak, Calvin? 50?
Oh, man, that's a good question. Probably we need to probably sell out Golden One Arena, right? That's the only way.
End the streak, dude. We got to do it.
That's the shirt that we're gonna be wearing in the playing game to get into the full tournament.
Yes. We should all wear it, dude. We'll just order a bunch, and we'll definitely, Jim, we'll definitely have to put them on all the chairs, and we could all wear it together. And Matthew still wants it on underwear. Matthew, I'm working on it, man. The thing is everybody wears different size. So, send us a sample size so we know what your size is. We'll custom make one for you. No worries. So, Jim, yeah, I can tell your frustration in your comment. Or maybe I just feel frustrated when I read it, because that's how I feel when shit is blocked out and I'm on the middle of an island 3,000 miles away from everywhere, and they black out all the West Coast games because they tell me that I'm in the Lakers, in the Clippers, in the Kings, in the Warriors network. It's very frustrating. I don't have enough time to, fly in, go to a game, and fly back for every game. Unfortunately, my schedule's a little too busy for that.
Luckily, it's just the LA teams. It is very unfortunate, but we still get to watch the rest of them.
No, but Kings is blacked out on League Pass. The only way we can watch Kings is because we get the local channel. But yeah, like I have League Pass this year. Warriors are blacked out. Kings are blacked out. Lakers and Clippers all blacked out. I mean, I'm not mad at the Lakers being blacked out because, I'm not a Lakers fan. But Callum misses Buddy Hield. Interesting. Maybe we'll see Buddy Hield on the Lakers this year, Calvin.
It's possible.
If you're the Lakers, what's one thing, like one move you would make right now to just help this team get a little bit better? Or do you just say, we're starting over?
Well, that's part of the problem is there aren't many moves that they can make anymore. They failed to get the deal done for Kyrie Irving. They failed to get the deal done for anybody from the Utah Jazz. And now they are seemingly letting an Indiana Pacers deal slip through their fingers. You combine that with the fact that there aren't a lot of teams out there that want Russell Westbrook. Plus, he makes a crap ton of money, so it's really hard to put together a deal for him. I think if they don't end up doing this trade for Buddy Hield and or Miles Turner, there's nothing really left for them to do until it gets to the trade deadline, and maybe you can revisit it then.
Sucks to be a Lakers fan. I'll throw that out there. Or at least it does right now. Kings are on the up and up, Calvin. I'm feeling good, man. We're looking better than the Lakers. That feels good, man. I try not to compare myself or my teams to other teams, but the Lakers are always there. And when you're feeling a little bit better than Lakers right now, when you just beat the Lakers by 30 points on Monday, oh, man. I feel good, Cal. I feel real good.
Absolutely.
But Friday's a big day, man. If they lose that game on Friday, if they lose that game by over 30 points on Friday, I'll be disappointed. I mean, if it's less than 30, I could add both games together, kind of average it out, and be like, okay, we're 10 points better than the Lakers. But you can't lose that game by 30. You got to win that game. What am I talking about, dude? We got to go 4-0 here.
You just want to see them continue to be competitive. That's what you want to see from them.
Yeah.
I mean, we all love watching 30-point blowouts, but they're not going 82-0 and winning every game by 30 points. So just keep being competitive. And, they certainly got a great chance to beat the Lakers again.
All right, last question from you. Mike Brown, what's the biggest difference you've seen him make so far for the Kings?
Oh, wow. I mean, I would say confidence in the guys that have been here already, right? Like De'Aaron Fox specifically. We talked about that during media day when he was addressing the media. He just seemed really relaxed and confident about the way things were going in camp. And I think that's got to be directly related to the head of the snake, right? Mike Brown is a calm, cool, and collected guy. He can get animated when he wants to, but overall, I think he has a pretty calming presence that the players respect. And that's definitely translated to their play. They all seem to be really confident. Keegan Murray, even though I think that's who he is, looks very confident in what he can do early on. I think the Kings as a team are confident of what they can do offensively and defensively. So it's good to have a guy that at the helm, right, that you feel like can actually motivate these guys to work a little bit harder, because it's mostly about the effort.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you guys so much for watching another Royal Rebounds podcast. Make sure you smash up that like button down below and hit that subscribe button. We're live after every single Kings game. Calvin, Wednesday's game, we're going to be live on our other channel, Basketball at the Bar, post-game, talking about the Kings. We'll release a small video on this channel just to remind you all, but make sure you guys join us on that channel. You can click on the link on the bottom of this channel. It'll lead you there. Also, we're giving away a $250 Fanatics gift card, so make sure you check that video out as well. But Kings win tonight, 126-94 over the Portland Trailblazers. It feels so good. Calvin, any last words for everybody out there?
No, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. These nuts.